Anyway, that's the only difference I noticed. And this is, it is not what an HDF. I just happened to run across it by doing a little Googling and figuring how to get it. If David addresses, I can fit this week. It is 2.6.9, and it came out on 11/19/2019. And it's fine. It's usually working fine for me here. Go ahead and have a little chat with Dave there, okay?
Okay, so David, that'll come through for you. WD6JFH with KS6UM on the side. This is K0JTA, Mike in southeastern Minnesota. Go ahead, David, over.
K0JTA in the group. WB6JFH. Seems too fine, Mike. Seems too fine. If you could ask Lou, is the server part of the software working on? I've heard the 2.6.7 was not working or work in progress. I don't know about 2.8, but in the new stuff, 2.9, is what you would ask them. Ask Lou if the server is working now or is still work in progress. Go ahead.
Okay, real good, will do. So this is coming to you, Lou. Here's the recording. Okay, that's the end of the recording. So Lou, what do you got to say about that? Over.
I believe it's a work in progress. It is, and they don't. Okay, Doug, W5CW, I think, or WC, released that, but it's not hopped in. In other words, if you do if you go to GitHub, and the latest one they have there is 6.7. I tried 6.8 and I had problems with it, so I went back to 6.7, but now I'm using 6.9. But 6.9 I don't think it's been released yet for general consumption, because it's not on the list yet, on the GitHub list. That's my impression. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, so when you get that, over. Go ahead there, David, over.
Sorry, it turned it over to me. I barely caught it. Lou is just above the noise level, so I'm getting about 50%. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, okay. I'm goofing on here with live stream. By the way, not live stream, what do you call it? OBS. Anyway, if you look me up on K0JTA.com, click on that top link. The live stream from the OBS program should be running at this particular point. That'll help you guys out a lot as far as being able to hear each other. So, look me up on K0JTA.com, click on the very topmost line, which is going to be in red. Click on that red link, and that'll take you to YouTube. At that point, just looking at it myself, you'll see a bunch of things, one of which will be saying live now or something like that, I think. Anyway, click on that upper leftmost icon. They all look the same, but anyway, the upper leftmost one will be the one you would be looking for. And it doesn't say live here, and I just did a refresh. Okay, now it does say live now. Yep. Anyway, then you'll be able to hear each other. So, of course, yeah, let's see, I got it, yeah. David, you don't have the internet. I got it. Well, okay, I'll pass it back out to Lou. Maybe you can help me straighten this out. This is K0JTA. Go ahead there, Lou, over.
Okay, Mike. K0JTA, KI6UM. I'm trying to bring your site up for the live now, but I haven't finished yet, so I'm going to try it again, okay? So back to you, and advice to Dave. Of course, I have no problem with him. But I'm going to try to see if I can see you on live now, okay? Go ahead, Mike. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, real good. Yeah, I'm going to play this back here just for David's use.
Yeah, so I'm going to try it again, okay? So back to you, and Of course, I have no problem with him. But I'm going to try to see if I can take you on live now, okay? Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, so David, you got the picture there. Basically, I guess you don't have internet service there, so you wouldn't want to be wasting your allocation with your hotspot and this kind of stuff. That's for darn sure. I know that from times past here, I've always been up against that when we'd go camping, for example, just for a few days, and boy, it would be, it's always not stressful, but it's you're always kind of watching the clock there, watching your totals, and watching if any software updates and all kinds of stuff like that, because that'll just suck that stuff up like crazy. So at any rate, yeah, so at least we got something going there. And I'd like to say, hopefully it's going to work here. I don't know, I just got it going, and I do see, what do you call it, the audio is waggling. I do have my monitor turned on, so that's a good sign. That's another needed feature as far as any HPSDR here. And it says perfect streaming, kilobits per second, 1188, 1149, kilobits per second, 1180. So, and it's showing green there. Drop frames, it doesn't make sense. Drop frames is 0.0%. I've never seen it this good. Never ever. Is that I'm on a different server here now? Actually, Dave, this might be of interest to you. I'm using that visible system. I've just switched my whole local area network over to it, so my internet access and things like that, all things here in the house are using the visible system. And it is really nicely behaved. And this is the first time I've used live streaming, not live streaming, it's the OBS, which is like live stream, but that's a different program. Live stream, by the way, used to work really well for us, but the problem is they no longer offer the free service, so it's a paid-for situation. As a result, being tight-fisted, well, I just couldn't see that, so I sought out this OBS software, and it does work. And like I said, I have never seen the kilobits per second up here and that fast. The CPU is, total CPU is down to 4.5, 4.8, 3.5, 4.5, 3.8. So it's updating here, at 20 frames per second here. But the big thing is I've never seen the drop frames at 0.0%. It's always at least 50%. So it's really working out really nice as far as the visible plan here. And once again, my whole house now, everything, all our Wi-Fi devices, all the printing, internet access, even our telephone is all coming through the voice over IP using that UMA device. And of course, Lou, you have an UMA, so you know about that. But everything comes through the wireless cellular service, which is, once again, Visible is the name of the company, but it's using the Verizon cellular system network. So I have a little R2 R2 cell phone that's sitting up in the living room, and then it couples then to a thing here made by Edamax, I think it is. But there's like TP-Link makes some of this kind of stuff. There's various ones. This Edamax one is an old one, so but the newer ones I think are actually better behaved and they're easier to set up and things like that. So, but it's been just rock solid, perfect here for the last 2+ months. No hiccups at all, except for the ones that I would introduce into it, and of course I'm good at that. Anyway, David, go ahead, WB6JFH, K0JTA, over.
K0JTA, group, WB6JFH. George, W2DS was checking in also, Mike, so you might want to pick him up the next go around. Very good, yeah. You've been telling me about the visible stuff for quite a while here. I'm still waiting for getting in and have my friend come out with the hand stuff. And so right now there's no progress in trying to remote my station. They got busy with the mesh network and RD, and he got sucked into that. So right now, next week they're going to try the trial and then do the demo. So no time for me yet. So we're just sitting here waiting. Anyway, why don't you go ahead and pick up George? K0JTA in the group. WB6JFH, go ahead.
Okay, real good. I didn't pick that up. I should also just, George, stand by just a little bit. If anybody else would like to join into the SDR group, this is a very, very informal group, as you can tell. But if you'd like to join in, if you have an interest in software-defined radios, or if you happen to have one, that's fine, but that's not a prerequisite. So if you'd like to join in just for a signal check or something like that, do so at this particular point. This is K0JTA standing by.
November 7, Charlie, Victor Zulu.
N7CVZ, good afternoon, Mike. I've got you on the list and I'll be right with you then. Real good, nice to hear you on. George, go ahead and pick it up, W2GS, K0JTA, and group over.
Okay, Mike, fine business. I can actually hear everybody very good, even the N7 station, which is unusual because I think he's in Arizona, but I'm not 100% sure. And Lou and David are coming in with no problem whatsoever. And so I just tried to check in real quick. The last couple weeks, the band conditions have been so bad that I could barely hear anybody, including you, Mike. You're about F7 today, so things are up a little bit. The conditions aren't great, but the band conditions are at least working a bit. And just a quick comment for Lou out there. Lou, what I do is I just stay on that GitHub, whatever you want to call it, for Doug, W5CW, and that way you can always look at every now and then for updates on Cetus. But I haven't got ambitious enough to try to upload Cetus again. But that's what I do because the normal releases, they lag so far behind that, if you want to try to keep up with it, you really can't. It kind of reminds me of the old Flex days when they had upgrades every other day. And you would use GitHub, or I think there was another mechanism, I can't remember exactly what it was, to upload all the updates, which they try to improve stuff by the day until they got too big and decided to go another way. So anyway, Mike, back up to you, send it out to S7 CEZ. Whiskey 2 Gulf Sugar.
Okay, well, good. Well, nice to hear you on, George, and thank you for taking the time. Yeah, the band conditions have been very bad in the last 2 weeks, and of course last week it was really bad. Well, actually conditions were perhaps pretty good, but the problem is it was just wall to wall, about 4 deep, it seems like, with people that were enjoying the sweepstakes contest. And so I tried to sneak in there a little bit, but boy, it was a foolish venture on my part in hindsight, but I still tried it. But I remember back in the old days when I had my first SDR, that was the SDR 1000, I think it was. I don't think it was a Flex 1000, I think it was the SDR 1000. And back then, there was some kind of a means, and Turtle comes to mind. Turtle, like the reptile, turtle. Anyway, there was a Turtle update, and I'm not sure how this comes to mind, but it did. But that was one of the figures that had to be included, you might say, as far as my search or my results, I guess. But they used to come out really, really, really fast. Like I said, every day there was an update. Might even be more often than that, but it was pretty exciting back then. And that's just the way it goes. So that was really quite interesting. Yeah, at any rate, it's just snowing, overcast here, looking at, can't quite read, it looks like it's just a little above 30 degrees here. The light is turned off in the device is hanging on the wall up here, and it was running, so something must have gotten interrupted. But that's okay, I can go ahead and plug it in here later. At any rate, N7CVZ, you're being heard by George, and George is hearing everybody, so that's really quite good. So, very, very interesting. N7CVZ, good afternoon. You're not wildly strong here, but it is 100% copy. Go ahead there, Mike. Over.
Most everybody, and what I do when I check on the left here. Today, last night we had a little bit of snow. It's been freezing the last couple days. We had about
Okay, it came right at the tail end, but I guess you're talking about your weather. Conditions for that last transmission were quite poor. Matter of fact, it was just pretty much uncopyable. George, W2GS, did Mike have anything in particular? I think I just copied just the last part there. W2GS, K0JTA, over.
Mike, Mike in Oregon, he just gave a weather report and talked about the band conditions. You've got some QSB on me. I was the same going that way. I'm kind of pointed up about 330 feet. So we're kind of splitting Lou and David. Might be, well, let's see here. You had to subscribe to it. It was kind of like an earlier version of you were thinking of. Mike, back to you.
Yep, good possibility. Just want to run a receiver to see if I can get a receiver would help out. I got the IC7300 as opposed to the 7000 DLE. A little bit of feedback here too, which is well, not quite feedback, but it's something that's it's an artifact. Anyway, bear with me. Too many laws and levels here, things to play with. Of course, I got that OBS running here, that's kind of one, so well, anyway, Mike, nice to have you aboard and this kind of stuff. I'll pass it back over to you and see if I can perhaps hear you any better. But this last transmission was pretty much no-go except for maybe the last, maybe 10 seconds of your transmission. Otherwise, it was really difficult for me. And so the CVC in the group, this is K0JTA, go ahead. Okay, real good on the latest Thetis. Now, what version of Thetis are you running there, Mike? Because KS6UM has reported that he has version 2.6.9, and that only came out on the 19th, on 11/19 of 2019. So November 19, and he's got 2.6.9. So what version of Thetis do you have there, Mike? Over.
Yeah, I went to 2.6.9 here about a week ago, so I am on the newest version that's available there, Mike. Over.
Okay, real good. Yeah, because you had mentioned something about 6 months, but I guess you're using Thetis for 6 months, but not a 6-month-old version of Thetis. Okay, real good. Yeah, so you're definitely up to date then. Real good. All right. Yeah. Well, I don't know which end to produce it here. I may just pass it down to KS6UM, or if you were going to be looking to see if the OBS video and audio streaming was working. I'd be interested in a report from that. Can't really tell you at the moment because I'm just got too many things that are pulling at me for my attention, this kind of stuff. By the way, switching to the 7300 here, I'm able to hear Mike. You were very weak, but I was able to hear you better on the 7300, which is rather interesting. So then I got the, what do you call it, 7000 DLE here. I got the AGC gain up at 114, which is pretty well close to the top end of the scale or slider. Got another, less than 5% to go. But the 7300 now, I suppose it had preamps turned on, and most likely just preamp number one. You hit it, the preamp button, and you can cycle through to, preamp 1, preamp 2, and off, and this kind of stuff. And I'm pretty sure it was preamp number 1, because if you get too much of a preamp there, then it becomes, it degrades. For example, using a preamp on 75 and 40 meters is it's a futile and erroneous attempt, you might say. KS6UM to pick it up. This is K0JTA. This is the SDR group. Over.
K0JTA in the Southward Defined Radio Group, KI6UM. Very good, Mike. Yeah, I'm hearing some mics, the other mics in your station there. It's pretty good. And good morning, good afternoon, George. You came out quite good, but towards the end there was a bit of QSB.
All right, very good. Go ahead, Mike. Take it
Around there. K0JTA and the software-defined radio group, KI6UM.
Okay, real good. Yep. Let's see. To give it to David there, just back over there too. Fortunately, I guess I'm able to hear pretty much everybody here on the band. Mike was the weakest, but it was we're dealing with some QSB there, so it was weaker and worse and this kind of stuff. I was just kind of interested to see what the little 7300 here would do. Not sure why that difference is. Not sure if I can actually do anything further. There is, I think, in receive mode, I think there might be a 10 dB attenuator turned on, but the thing is, if I turn that off, it simply moves that scale that's, I think, perhaps labeled as being G. Anyway, just move that scale, that horizontal bar up and down, so I can easily override or defeat or duplicate no matter where the attenuator is set. So that's about the way that goes. WB6GFH, pick it up. This is K0JTA. Go ahead.
K0JTA in the group. WB6GFH. Well, Mike, you came up and signal you're back to your usual S9 about 5 over. So good signal. George is coming in really good at about S8 or so. Blue and the other Mike, I can barely hear, so no real signal for a point there. As for the weather here, it's cloudy, about 26 degrees, and we're expecting some light snow this afternoon. So we'll see if that actually occurs or not. So now back to the fetus and stuff like that. For George, I still haven't found a net frame that'll work with 2.6.8 with Windows 7 Professional. So I guess I'm going to move on. I'm going to have to bite the bullet and go to Windows 10 and then get the newer version of Fetus working and stuff. So, mostly I had a feeling I'd probably have to go on to continue with development Fetus. I'd probably have to upgrade the software or the operating system on the computer. So that's all we have at the moment, Mike. So back to you. K0JTA in the group. WB6GFH. Go ahead.
Okay, real good. WB6GFH in the SDR group. This is K0JTA. Okay, I'm expecting some snow. Yeah, we're kind of intermittently expecting snow, and actually we are getting snow at this particular point because the visibility is down to much less than 1/2 mile. And it's very, very, very fine snow, but it's still coming down to some degree, you might say. Okay, am I still getting up to S9 and stuff like that? Still waiting for your mesh provider, your service provider there. Yeah, too bad about that. My goodness, it's really quite interesting. Well, at any rate, waiting for the mesh, that's one thing. But looking at getting on that visible plan right now, if you got on, it would be $25 a month. With that, you can divorce your existing cell phone because this would work for you because it's on the Verizon system. It's got, according to the map, it's got good coverage out there in your neck of the woods. And of course, if you didn't like it, it's a no contract thing, so you can easily cancel. The worst it's going to cost you is $20 for the phone. Although if you have a phone to trade in, that comes down to $0, and that's what I did. So that would be the best endorsement I guess I can offer, but it's your choice, of course. Okay, and to everybody, David is still looking for and waiting for a net frame that will work on Windows 7. My question to you, David, is that have you presented this to the user group that you're looking for a net frame that's compatible with Windows 7? WB6GFH, K0JTA, over. Oops, WB6GFH, K0JTA, over.
K0JTA in the group. WB6GFH. No, I haven't yet. I was thinking about trying to get the servers and talk about trying to network for remote the Apache Lab Radio as well. And try and do it in all in one shot. So, but George says, a couple times back that he believes it's because Microsoft wants us all in Windows 10. And so I may not be able to find a compatible net frame for Windows 7 so I could run Thesis 2.6.8, and now there's 2.6.9 out, according to Lou and stuff. So it looks like I'm just not going to get that. I've tried going on to Microsoft. I downloaded several versions of NetFrame, the ones that looked like they were about the same time frame that Windows 7 was popular and stuff like that. And it still don't go. The software the new software, the 2.6.8, just keeps telling me that my NetFrame is out of date. So, but maybe I should post that. And that on the user group. Of course, they're not on Yahoo anymore. So on the group IO stuff, but I haven't actually made the change there. So I guess I'll have to do that first before I can post anything. So anyway, I'm thinking seriously about trying to see what people like Scott have to say, and maybe Warren would pop in and have some ideas of what I have to do. K0JTA in the group, WB6JFH, go ahead.
Okay, WB6JFH, this is K0JTA. Okay, so the point being is that, just to reiterate for Lou and anybody else that's listening that is not hearing you directly, I guess Mike could be in the same case also. But, okay, you have not gone to the user group, and that would be my goodness, that would be by far the first thing to do. You can do it yourself. You can, slog through all the internet to try to find the same kind of a thing, but the user group is focused on the software, and there's a lot of experience out there, and somebody out there is probably running Windows XP and or Windows 7. Not everybody is on Windows 10, and they might have a resolution for you. So I would definitely make that your number one choice. I guess I'm surprised that you had not done that already, but yeah, do make that an effort, and you might just be really surprised, that I've had some really obscure questions for port forwarding. For example, with port forwarding with my LTD broadband, which is our other internet service provider here, port forwarding is a real big challenge, and dealing with the ISP, that was not being fruitful, but I went to a user group, and I forget what it was. I think it was maybe Equilink's user group. Got some good, solid answers there. So, that's what you need to do, David. WB6JFH, K0JTA, over.
K0JTA in the group, WB6JFH. Okay, I'll work on that. Well, it can't be today. Tomorrow I have a doctor visit, so later in the week I'll go ahead and post something and see if there is a workaround and stuff like that, so I can use the newer Thesis stuff, see what kind of features it's added and stuff, and if they are getting the server part of it working, then maybe that might make things even simpler for me in trying to remote the radio and stuff. So, okay, good idea. I'll go ahead and take care of that next week, so you'll probably see a post from me sometime. I don't know what, weeks seem to be, towards the end of the year, everything seems to get really busy, so trying to get time to do everything seems to be more of a hassle anymore. Mike, when I thought I retired, I thought things would slow down and I could just meander around and do whatever I want. Well, so far, I've been retired for about 13 years now, and that hasn't happened yet, so I know my father thought the same thing, and it didn't work out that way for him too. He got actually busy here, volunteering and stuff like that, so maybe there is no such thing as retiring. K0JTA in the group, WB6JFH, go ahead.
Yep, the retirement does offer opportunities. I don't do any volunteering, this kind of stuff. That was a thought that I was entertaining and kind of anticipating. I know that a lot of my people, my friends at work and other organizations also, when they would retire, they'd actually go to work at Menards or something like that just to have something to do. But my goodness, like I tell people that if I scan my eyes 10 degrees, if I don't see 10 jobs, my eyes are closed. And that's really not stretching it. I have so many shiny things to attract my attention. So I don't have any what do you call it, lack of things to do. Did a real quick search here, by the way, with the NetFrame that you had tried to download. I just did a real quick search here for NetFrame for Windows 7 on the internet using Google. And I see in NetFrame, for example, there's one here that was May 2nd, 2017. They're talking about NetFrame 4.7, 4.71. That's October 13th of, that's 2017. Yeah, okay, sorry about that. Here's one April 17th, though, NetFrame on Windows 7 SP1, Service Pack 1. So just do a search for that too. I don't know how you've been looking for the NetFrame thing, or maybe go directly to Microsoft.com. But yeah, it's just, at this point in time, Windows 7, yes, is going to be not supported any longer, but at this particular point, there should be something available. So, which NetFrames have you, like the versions that I had mentioned here? For example, Windows 7 Service Pack 1 or NetFrame 4.7.1, for example. Does that ring a bell as to ones that you had tried, David? Over.
K0JTA in the group, WB6JFH. Yes, I've tried the latest one. That's the one that didn't work, which is 4.7.2 or something like that. And then I went back to 4.5, 4.4, which are all were produced at the same time that Windows 7 was very popular. But you mentioned something I don't know. You mentioned Service Pack 1. And I don't think I have Service Pack 1 in here. So maybe that's the issue. Is that I've got the, when I got the computer, it had the original Windows 7 Pro 64, because I've got an i5 processor. But I don't remember any Service Pack anything. So maybe that's where I should start looking, is maybe the Service Pack provides the newer versions to operate. So thanks. I will definitely look into that. K0JTA in the group, WB6JFH, go ahead.
Yeah, and in that particular link, I'm just looking at the summary here, but the Net Framework 4.8 is the latest version, so it's supported in Windows Service Pack 1 and Windows Server 2008 and so on. So yeah, that would be a good possibility. At least it's a newer version, but because they're talking about Windows Net Framework 4.8 as opposed to your 4.7 and also previous ones. That's a good move, but in this case it was not productive for you. But the thing is, if you're looking at the possibility for the latest one, well, 4.8 is being addressed here as perhaps being the maybe a candidate for installation if you have Windows 7 Service Pack 1 installed, or maybe it comes as part of the Windows 7 Service Pack 1 installation. So yeah, that would be, but once again, just, if this does not turn out to be fruitful for you, definitely get into the, user group and present that. But you might also present the possibility that you heard this guy talking about Net Framework 4.8 as being mentioned with Service Pack 7, Windows 7 Service Pack 1, David, WB6JFH in the STR group, K0JTA, go ahead.
Okay, Mike. Well, when I was hit with ransomware a couple of years ago, and I changed the hard drive, I loaded Windows 7 back in, and I was online so I could get the drivers and stuff. So maybe the original had Service Pack 1 in it, and now I don't. So that might be the whole, the big issue is that I never did download Service Pack 1 because I didn't even know it existed. But there was Service Pack 1, 2, and 3 for XP, I think it was, and so on and so forth. So maybe that's the problem. I'm missing the service pack. So I'll look into that. Possibly this afternoon. Yes, there's some stuff I'm missing. And I'm having a problem. So thanks, Mike. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. And probably should pass it around to other people so we don't lose them as well. I don't want to the whole session about service packs and net frame and all that kind of stuff. K0JTA in the group, WB6JFH, but
Okay, real good. Yeah, well, this is kind of an important topic to you, and it might be something that somebody else might have some comments on, and so as a result, anybody else have anything they would like to say, either dealing with this particular comment or with something else that has to do with what you see out your window and things like that. This is important stuff, all of it. So this is K0JTA. I'll just stand by. Over. Not hearing anything here. W2GS K0JTA, are you still there, or did your motorcycle buddies come to snatch you away? W2GS K0JTA, over. Not hearing them at all. KSXUM K0JTA, what are your thoughts on this service pack business, over?
K0JTA is authorized to find the window roof, KI6UM. Yeah, I heard part of it. I could not hear saying, of course. Now, when it's the new version of the software package, .9, I tried to install it on the Windows server. Net frame 4.8. Well, I tried to install net frame 4.8 on the Windows 7, and I couldn't. I even made sure that I had service pack 1, and it wouldn't take it. However, on Windows 6, I don't have to worry about that at all. It took off. So I'm still working on that. On the frame 4.8 on the Windows 7. I have not resolved that yet. I'm going to do a little bit more research on that. That's all I know. Back to you, Mike. K0JTA and the software-defined radio loop, KI6UM.
Okay, real good information. I'm going to play that back. I just recorded at least a portion of your transmission, so David, listen up to the comments here from KI6UM. Here it comes.
I even made sure that I had service pack 1, and it was taken. However, on Windows 10, at all, it took off. So I'm still working on that. 12.8 on Windows 7. I have not resolved that yet. I'm going to do a little bit more research on that. That's all I have. Thank you, Mike.
Okay, that's in the recording. David, did you get the gist of what Lou was mentioning? Got WB6JFH, K0JTA, over.
K0JTA in the group, WB6JFH, I did. And so he's having a problem too. And so, right now, everything is saying, go ahead and buy Windows 10 installed on here, and then I can proceed with the newer version of the That seems to be what I'm hearing from Lou and what I heard from George and stuff like that. So, because you guys are all working with 10, so maybe that's the solution. Yeah, but I can wait and see if George, or not George, Lou comes up with something. He said he was still researching it, so maybe there still is a workaround. K0JTA in the group, WB6JFH, go ahead.
Okay, real good. Yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't fully understand what his research was entailing there, but I guess the bottom line is that he did put Windows 10 on, And at that point, the service pack, with the service pack, of course, he was trying to download or install that framework 4.8 or whatever the version might be right now. So, yeah, I'm going to just play back that recording for the sake of Lou. Here it comes. Okay, that's in the recording there. Well, yeah, going to Windows 7 obviously will resolve your issue, but of course Windows 10 has this little game that likes to play, number one. Number two, it's going to cost you some money to go to Windows 10, so I would say look for that Service Pack 1 if you don't have it. Well, if you go to about your computer and this kind of stuff, there should be a method of will show you what you have there. Matter of fact, I'm just going to go up here to my computer here and go to Properties and Windows 7 Professional. Oh, it does say Service Pack 1. I do have Service Pack 1 on mine, so I right-clicked on the computer icon in the upper left-hand portion of my particular screen and pulled down to Properties, and that brought up a window here that allowed me to, like it says here, view basic information about your computer. And Service Pack 1 is apparently loaded here with this one. Now, I don't see anything here that I can directly see. I don't know how I would find out what version of framework I have, if I even have framework. I don't know. But anyway, so that's how that goes. Yeah, I'll just toss it up anybody. Here's K0JTA standing by then. Okay, got a Victor station. Go ahead, Victor, over.
Yeah, Mike, 3 Delta Alpha 0 Victor, A 0 Victor, Victor, John, from 814, Southern Avenue. You're moving through the Mike, Alpha 5914,
Okay, real good. You're not coming here real good, but I'm sorry I didn't take the recording there. I'm just going to play a little bit back. Here it comes. Okay, I still don't have your call sign, but I wrote down here, but it's really hard for me. Zulu Delta 8 Victor, and I don't know what you said my signal strength was, but I think you said you were hearing me okay down there. And unfortunately, I'm not hearing you real well. Of course, I'm using a 75-meter loop antenna at about 35 feet. So, Zulu Delta 8, I think, Victor. This is K0JTA. Go ahead.
No, it's number 3. Number 1, 2, 3, number 3. Denmark, America, number 0. Victor. 3 Delta Alpha 0 Victor. Listen, 714. Yeah, Micah.
Okay, 3 Delta Alpha 0 Victor. 3 Delta Alpha 0 Victor. Yep, this is K0JTA. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mike, listen, sometimes since we've spoken, Mike, just listening in on your message and wondering how you're doing. Maybe it doesn't mean that great that I'll be able to join you guys, but certainly coming through nicely here this evening. And you're probably not even pointed my way, Mike. I'm sure I'm not sure what antenna you said you're using there, but lovely to hear from you this evening. A very good afternoon to you. Good evening from Africa. K0JTA, 3 Delta Alpha 0 Victor, London, and the Kingdom of Eswatini, rather.
Okay, real good. Yeah, he came up a little bit that time, I think, but it was still really tough for me. But yeah, I'll play back the recording here just for the sake of the other folks. Here it comes. Okay, yep, sounds good. And yeah, I don't have any antenna aimed in any particular direction because once again, I'm running a loop antenna, a 75-meter loop antenna, which is just impossible for me to turn, so that's the way that goes. And okay, being evening over there, yeah, I'm really surprised that the band is opening up to the point that I can hear you and you can hear me. My goodness, because the band has been in really rough shape for quite a long time. So, yeah, at any rate, yeah, the discussion here was running Thetis on Windows 7. So I don't know if you have entertained the thought of going to Thetis and things like that. 3 Delta Alpha 0 Victor Victor K0JTA, over. Okay, real good. Yeah, well, very interesting. Okay, I'm sticking with what you got there. That's what I'm going to hear. I had tried to run Thetis here some time back, and of course, my computer abilities with Windows is quite difficult. It seems like Windows always enjoys taunting me and throwing up obstacles or whatever like that. Bottom line, I have a kind of a rough time with Windows. Still running Windows 7 here, and I'm running the OpenHPSTR version 3.4.9 on my Apache Labs Anon 7000 DLE. So, yeah, that's the way it goes. Anybody else would like to make a comment to the 3 Delta Alpha 0 Victor Victor station? This is K0JTA standing by, over.
WB6JFH, 3 Delta Alpha Victor Victor. You're about S6 here in the state of Washington. Good signal. Good signal. Name here is David. Go ahead. David, I can hear you, but I didn't catch the call sign. I can just hear you in there, David, but I didn't catch the call sign there, okay? Okay, it's Whiskey Bravo 6 Juliet Foxtrot Hotel. Whiskey Bravo 6 Juliet Foxtrot Hotel. Real good signal. I've heard another guy last week coming from Africa on this band and stuff, so the band seems to be kind of strange anymore. So, go ahead. WB6JFH. Yeah, you're not very strong about that, David. I'm not sure if towards the end of the opening of the band or not, but I really like the greatness of the evening. Yeah, I haven't changed anything, Mike. I'm still running Windows 7, and I'm not going to change from Windows 7. This all the top of mine didn't want to fit perfectly, so I'm not going to change on that. Just a quick comment there. Alright, David, I'll leave it over to Mike. But no need to reach out the band. WB6 Juliet Foxtrot Hotel, 380 Victor Victor, Roger.
Go ahead there, David.
Okay, thanks for the contact, and signal's still holding up. So, very good signal here. It's morning here for me. So go ahead, Mike, K0JTA, WB6JFH, go ahead.
Okay, real good. I was thinking that Mike N7CVZ might be able to hear the South African station. Mike, you're still there? N7CVZ, K0JTA, over. Not hearing Mike. Lou or George, are you on frequency yet? K0JTA standing by, over.
K0JTA in the group K6UF. Yeah, I could hear the African station very well on Utah. And that's just good to So I'll say my 7 to each. Have a good week there, Mike. and we'll be in touch. If I find an answer for next plane 4.8 on Windows 7, I'll let you know. 73 all the best. Okay, I 6 you am clear.
Okay, real good. Yeah, let's see. I guess I have to log in. I was trying to look up 3DA0 Victor Victor. I have to log in, I guess, so I didn't do that. That's underway right now. I'll get the password in there, see how that works out. Okay, time code. Oh, I have to do my two-factor authentication, so now I have to pull my cell phone out and get the authorization code. That's really, I'm not sure why I did that. Well, I guess I do recall now, but it was a futile attempt that actually failed, so I think I'm going to see if I can draw up this two-step identification or authorization, whatever like that, in. So, real good. Well, all right, 3 Delta Alpha 00 Victor Victor. Good evening to you. Good evening. I guess it's evening over here where you are. So, thank you for coming in, and we'll see you again another time then. Over.
Mark, the name is Vincent. We've spoken many times before. Mark, over the course of a couple of years, just to refresh your memory, I said to you that I would probably make EAA. I'd probably make Oshkosh this year. And that rings a bell. So this is Mike, 73 to you. Have a wonderful day. K0JTA, Nelson Alpha 0 Victor Victor Vincent, and it's what you Roger.
Yep, real good. I just got another. I tried to do this authorization here, and it had the wrong time code, so I have to do it all over again here. So, yep, good day to you then. Thanks for taking the time to check in. And yeah, you mentioned your name, and I do recall we have spoken before. And on my desk on a shelf up here, I do have your name written down. And I don't. I'd have to search, I have to dig to find that little crib sheet. So, and I think this authorization code here is time constrained, and I think you're only given like 15 seconds or something like that, and this may be why it's failing for me. But good afternoon to you then. Go ahead and pick it up there, David. I'm not sure who else is in here, but I think it's just pretty much you and me then. And of course, the South African station, WB6GFH, K0JTA, over.
K0JTA in the group, WB6GFH. Well, very good, Mike. Yeah, it's he was coming, and he just kind of fade out towards the end for me, but still a good solid at 667. And right now I don't have a lot of noise here on 20 meters. One of the things I did is in the procedures you can increase the overall sample rate of the radio. So right now I'm at 700, whatever that number is. I also changed the processing from Hammy to Lexman Man -7 and changed the, instead of having peak, I had average, so I turned average off on the main screen. And the pad adapter comes really alive then. You know, any little hiccup, you'll see it. And it seems to reduce the noise for it a little bit. Yeah, and so, makes it a little easier to hear some of the weaker ones like Blue. I could hear him not 100%, but I could hear him enough to get the gist of what he was talking about. So it works. I know that doing this probably heats up the FPGA and the radio a little bit more because I've got the sample rate at double the normal rate right now. And I can even go one step higher if I want to. But I don't know if that will really overheat the FPGA or not. You know, I can go up to 1.5 megasamples per second. Yeah. Where with Power SDR, you can't do much more than 192,000 samples per second. Clean software won't let you go any faster, even though the radio could. I don't think you can do that with the earlier ones, like the 100 and the 10 like I have. I don't think you can push the FPGA much further than that, because, you know, it's the third generation or the cycle 3 family of parts, as the Terra calls it, and stuff like that. So, anyway, so my patent doctor is jumping right now, so. But like I said, it seems to reduce the noise floor a little bit. I'm not sure why, unless, well, maybe it's because, I have noise reduction 2 on. I also have spectrum noise blocking on. Maybe because I'm doing more samples. That is, those 2 work more efficiently than you do with the slower samples. That's just a guess. I don't know for sure. That'd be a question for George, or probably more a question for Warren or Scott. So, we'll see. Anyway, so it was good to hear him. And like I said, Mike, I heard another South African station, I think it was Thursday, Thanksgiving. And I tried to work my head the N10 with the my controller hooked up to it. John Moulton stuff. And I tried to go back to them because they had a really strong signal, but I found there's a bug into the software. Well, it thinks that the frequency is on, which was about 14,234. Sorry about that. And it kept saying it's out of band. And so there's a bug there in his software that thinks I'm out of band when I'm right in that range. Any player else will transmit on 20, but there's that one spot that thinks it's out of range. So anyway, I couldn't get back to him. And he kind of left by the time I could get over here and fire up to 7,000 and stuff. So anyway, well, he was strong, that's 9 plus, so really good signal here. So I don't know what's going on with 20. It seems to be, every once in a while, it seems to be, well, the last week or so, it seems to be going really long. But short stuff, like last week, I could barely hear you. Yeah, you were about an S3, which my noise level is right around S3. That's the first time I can remember talking to you where I couldn't hear you. So now you're back up to normal, and you said that last weekend with the sweepstakes, things were a little different for 20 as well. So I'm pretty sure it's just all propagation and what's the sun doing and stuff like that. So K0JTA group, or what's left of it anyway. WB6JFH, go ahead.
Okie doke, WB6JFH and what's left of the group. Anybody else left in here, by the way? Vincent, you're probably still out there listening, and I was reading your K0Z information about there that, basically the country's name has changed from Swaziland to the Kingdom of Eswatini. I think that's what it is. So at any rate, but it's no big deal to the locals, so it was kind of interesting there how that history goes. But interesting, very, very interesting. But let's see, David, you were mentioning that you were changing things around. It took me a while to find out where that was as far as the average and this kind of stuff. And it was under display, and then RX1, and I went there to the pan adapter detector, and I do have average selected, and I don't know what else you had done there. As far as averaging, I have log, recursive, whatever in the world that is, but that's what I have selected. And my workload as far as my computer CPU load here, well, I guess it doesn't show up here right now because I don't have it selected. I'm still looking at the voltage, 12.8 volts at 5.3, 3.3, 3.9 amps. So I'm just looking at that stuff there. But in that window in the Power SDR, it used to show up the CPU load, and that's because I have unselected it, I guess, basically. Anybody else is going to give me a real quick check here. Anybody else that's still here that's in the group, or anybody else would like to join in? This is K0JTA standing by, over. Hearing nothing. Yep, go ahead there, David. It's just you and I again, over.
Okay, Mike. K0JTA, WB6JFH. Yeah, in the display window RX1, long recursive stuff, you can't even say it. And the top one selects average instead of T. And then on your main console, T selects average, which is right just below the selection for pan adapter, spectrum analyzer, waterfall, and all that stuff. And then you'll see the pan adapter itself becomes more real time. Like I said, every little bump or pop, you'll see it pop up on there. And for me, before I did this, my CPU load was about 30%. It bounces around, but around 30%. When I did this changes, now it's bouncing around 40%. So I know it's taking putting a bigger load on the system. I guess both radio and computer. And so it's taking a little bit more resources from the processor to do this. Which usually means the processors are going to warm up a little bit. Well, the i5 processor has its own thing, so it's probably not going to warm up too much. I'm not overclocking the processor. But the FPGA and the radio, on the Ryan board, it doesn't have a fan. Of course, there is a fan running through 7,000, so maybe we can assume that some of that air is blowing across the Orion board and keeping it cool as well. Oh, anyway, so it takes a little bit more resources to get this work, but it looks like because it reduces the noise, it looks like it's probably worth it. So I hope you got all that, Mike. K0JTA, WD6JSA.
Okay, yep, I did. I followed it all, and I got pretty much everything there. There was one thing that I did miss, but I don't know what that was. But anyway, changing the fast Fourier transform from 5.8.9, which is where it is right now. My CPU load is, let's say, at 33% right now. Of course, I'm in transmit mode, but if I go down to the next one, it's 2.930. That brings the CPU load down. So right now I'm showing 34%, but in receive mode it was showing a different figure. I'm going to go back up to 5.8.9, and it's still showing that same CPU load. But changing the detector, the pan detector, from peak to Rosenthal, average and sample, average is the lowest, and so that's kind of interesting there. And they have the time milliseconds. Right now it's at 120 milliseconds there, but that's under the pan adapter box or window, you might say. Well, it's the window that's within display RX1, and then going down to the lower left there, the pan adapter sub-box or sub-box in the window. But yeah, it's one thing if I go to, what was it now? I think right now I got log recursive is selected. I don't know which I did have there earlier, but change the detector from something, let's say peak to Rosenthal, the sample, that actually brought up my CPU load. But the average shows me that by far the lowest noise floor, and it was the lowest CPU load. K0JTA over.
Yeah, the difference you have that I have, the difference between two of us is that below the averaging versus log recursive, my time is set to 30 and not 120. And everything else, the Sparkman dash man 7T is what I've selected for the window. The bandwidth is 2.93, and then in the pan adapter detector I have average. The waterfall detector is still peak, but I don't normally run the waterfall or the pan fall, as it's called. I just have the pan adapter up, so I haven't changed anything on the waterfall setting. This is all for RX1. All the other settings on there, the you could double it, yeah. You could go to 348K or 348,000 samples per second. I tried that and everything slowed down. So with power SDR. Of course, the other thing going on is that with CETAS, I've got the 1 gigabyte throughput between the computer and the radio, whereas power SDR still uses 100 megabytes. So I have more data flowing everywhere, I guess, or more bandwidth to do it. So maybe that's the difference. Maybe you're not seeing everything I'm seeing because you're not running CETAS. So anyway, but it does make it a little more interesting to watch your signal and see it bounce around. In fact, you get so sensitive that now I can tell which radio you're on, whether you're using the 7000 or the 7300, because I can see the waveform that's on the pan adapter is different between the two radios, probably because of pure signal and stuff like that, I'm guessing. But anyway, but it's more, it's clear to see the difference with these settings than it is with the default settings. I can still tell which radio we're on with the default settings as well, because your waveform on the pan adapter is different between the two. Anyway, so I hope that helps a little bit, Mike. K0JTA, WB6GFH,
Okay, WB6GFH, K0JTA. Yep, by the way, I did finally look at the video and audio here, so the OBS is actually functioning. And yeah, as far as that, well, in that display RX1, and then in the lower left there, you get the pan adapter window. Averaging time was it 1:30? I tried the 30 and didn't actually like that, so I set it up here for 50. So it gives me just a little bit, it still reacts very, very nice and quickly, certainly much quicker than the 130 setting, or 120 I guess it was. But going to 30 was just a little bit too overactive. As far as you're looking at different presentation, then as far as my radio and this kind of stuff, was the, of course now I'm running, pure signal with this radio, and the 7300 does not have pure signal. So was the 7300 then offering lower sideband as well as upper sideband splatter, or what did you happen to notice there? This is K0JTA. Go ahead, David, over.
K0JTA, WB6GFH. What I noticed is that, well, if you're watching me on the 7000, you'll see that my still set to 2.7K for transmit. And you'll see that it fills out more of the signal between that bandwidth than the 7300 does. So, kind of like your lows, they're there, but they're different than they are the 7000. And there's no artifacts or anything like that. It's still a signal. No lower sideband components are off to it. At least none that I can see. And I could try doing double sideband and see if I see or hear anything with that, but on upper sideband I couldn't see anything. So it's the audio is a little bit between the two radios. So I've seen that with everybody else. You're running something else. You see the audio just with
Yes, we do.
had to take that into account too. Everybody waits.
Just on K0JTA.
The audio they're different depending on how they have it set up. Like how's the equalizer? And we've got the CFC stuff, which adds more complexity to that. And so more, like the radios have always had lots of things you can
Test on two.
do to
Test.
change the performance of the radio. And there's some things you tweak on that you never wanted to tweak on because it makes the radio performance even worse than you started out with. So I'm sure you've been down that road too with both Lab, Flex, stuff like that. Anyway, so we just give it a little bit more richness, if you like, in the pad adapter. Now, I have tried it with the waterfall, so maybe when I get through I'll select sandfall and see what it does to the waterfall. K0JTA, WB6JFH, go ahead, Mike.
Okay, WB6JFH, K0JTA. On the 7300 here at the moment, and looking at the settings, I don't have much. I have a TX bass and a TX treble. Right now, TX bass is set at a -1. The TX treble is set at a +5. So I can take the TX bass and bring it up. I'll just go ahead and bring it up to a +5. So this is with the TX bass set at +5. Before it was at a -1. I'll bring it back down to a -1. So do you see that difference there then? Once again, this is I'm on the 7300 here, and I see my frequency is marching all over the place on my IC, on my, what do you call it, can't think of the name here, the 7000, but once again, the TX base here is set at a -1, that's where it was set. I'll bring it up here to a +5. Right now, both bass and treble then are set at +5. What do you see as far as the difference there? K0JTA here, over.
K0JTA, WB6JFH. What you see is you start to fill out the end. You know, I'm looking at from, well, it's 2.7 kilohertz, and my offset's about 100 hertz from the dial red line and stuff. And so I see the bass come up when you push it up to +5. I saw the treble come up when you push up the treble up to +5. But the middle of the waveform is still kind of down a little bit, probably because you're not quite a baritone like I am, but you are kind of have a lower voice, and so I'm seeing that where the middle isn't filled out quite as much. You know, probably for me, because I've got the CFC turned on, and hopefully it does get close to being right, or close to where I want to be. I'm probably filling out more of that whole waveform. And while I'm translating, I'm looking at that on the band adapter, and I'm seeing more of the center of the waveform being filled out than I see with yours on the 7300. So it could be that you just have those two adjustments, and you're not going to get the center to fill out. I don't know. You know, we've got, like I said, we got the CFC feature that allows you to compress different bands of the voice for the audio frequency, and mine is set for a lot of treble type stuff, because I'm told that's what you need if you're going to work DX and stuff. So anyway, so you know, it's just there's a difference between the two radios, and I expect it to be a difference between the two radios because they're two radios. So anyway, it's nothing to get excited about, Mike. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I can see that, okay, I guess I was thinking before that you were saying that the lows were missing, so that's why I brought the lows up. Well, at any rate, it's the middle that's missing. All right, I know I can see that. So I can kind of compensate for that. Right now, the TX bass is set at a +2. The TX treble is set at a +2. So I'll just go ahead and go with the TX bass here and set that at a 0, and set the TX treble at 0 if I can get it there. Because see, right now everything is 0. TX bass is at 0 dB. TX treble is at 0 dB. Before I had the TX bass at a -1, and I had the TX treble at a +5. So does this fill it in a little bit better? Over.
Yes, it does. You've got more of the center part of the band pass less than you did before. And actually turning the bass down, you actually sound better. When you had the bass way up, it sounded like it was just starting to distort a little bit. So you now sound like yourself again. Go ahead.
Okay, real good. So that makes a better presentation. Now, do you think it sounds anywhere close then to the 7000? Probably not, because of course the 7000 has the transmitter equalizer, and this is the best I can do because it only offers, the middle is just left as is. So I can boost the bass, or boost and retard, attenuate the bass. I can boost and retard the treble. That's all I can do. The middle, I suppose, is just along for the ride. So right now, it's perhaps, this is the factory default, and this is perhaps the way I should be leaving it. Although putting the TX treble on, people thought that was sounding a little bit better because, like you said, you want to have some treble in there. So just for the ability to be heard and this kind of stuff. WB6JFH, this is K0JTA, over.
K0JTA, WB6JFH. Yeah, you sound really nice right now. So I would leave it there unless you get comments from other people that says maybe it's a little too bassy or something like that. To me, it sounds really good. It looks really good. And, I should record you and so you can hear what you sound like. I've got that capability too, so maybe on the next go around I will go ahead and record you so I can play it back. K0JTA, WB6JFH, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, real good. Here's K0JTA. Yeah, I do that. Also now, I do believe that I have the TBW, which is the transmit bandwidth set at, I got limited choices here. I got 100 to 2900, 300 to 2700, and let's have to scroll down here, see what else, 500 to 2500. So right now, the TX bandwidth, I guess if I select it there, I guess I could actually, I thought it was fixed, but no, I can, if I tap on it, I can change it around. Right now it's at 100. If I go, I cannot bring it down below 100. So I can bring the bottom end up here. There's the bottom end is at 500, and that's as far as I can bring it, for example. So I'm going to bring it back to 100 at the bottom end, and the top end is at 2900, and that's as high as I can go, but I can bring that down to 2500, but I'm going to bring it back up to 2900. So yeah, that's as much as I can do there. But as far as leaving the TX bass and treble as is, yeah, that's probably the best way to do it then. So yeah, no, this is very interesting. As far as I know, well, okay, I can preset now the transmit bandwidth wide, medium, and low, or narrow, but I believe this menu does not actually do the selecting. It just simply sets up what I can do. And I believe that the transmit bandwidth is set for wide, but I'm not real sure about that. Anyway, how the skirts look as far as it goes, any distortion, any lower sideband content, and this kind of stuff then. And yeah, that's about it. Go ahead there, David. K0JTA, over.
K0JTA and WB6JFH. Well, there's a big difference when you started moving the bandwidth around, the bandpass filter around and stuff. But I'm not seeing any lower sideband components. I see a little bit of intermodulation distortion, but that's because you don't have pure signal in the 7300. And I typically see that with others. So let me play back with the stuff and see what you think. So here it comes.
Okay, real good. Here's K0JTA. I do that. Also, now, I do believe that I have the TBW, which is the transmit bandwidth set at, I got limited choices here. I got 100 to 2900, 300 to 2700, so I can scroll down here to see what else, 500 to 2500. So right now, on the TX bandwidth, I selected there, and I can actually, I thought it was fixed, but no, I can, if I tap on it, I can change it around. Right now, I say 100. If I go, I cannot bring it down below 100. So I can bring the bottom end up here. There's the bottom end at 500. And that's as far as I can bring it, for example. So I'm going to bring it back to 100 the bottom end. And the top end is at 2900, and that's as high as I can go. But I can bring that down to 2500, and I'm going to bring it back up to 2900. So yeah, this is much as
came through really nice. Here's K0JTA. Yep, made a big difference, and yeah, I do agree. It's leaving at the factory default as far as the transmitter bandwidth, at 100 to 229 kilohertz. Yep, that's real good, and glad to hear that there's no extra splatter and this kind of stuff, or maybe if you saw a little bit there. It could be like if you go to your wave selection at the top of your Power SDR version that you're running there. If you go to wave, there's it brings up one of the things you can see in that particular window then would be the gain, TX gain or something like that. And in my case, I have mine, I think, set for a +5, but it all depends on the position of your receiver audio frequency, RX1 AF, and then they have the master AF, but the RX1 AF position makes a difference on where that should be. So I always leave mine set, RX1 is set at 50%, and then with that, then that gives me a standard audio input or standard audio to be dealing with when I would make a recording. And then the wave, once again, is set up, I'm pretty sure it is at a +4, +5 dB. Yeah, so that's rather interesting. Actually, looking at my signal on my pan adapter, I've still got the SDR, not the SDR, the Apache Lab 7000 DLE. I don't see a bit here of overdriving. I had to turn the attenuator on. I've set 30 dB at this particular moment, and I could actually select that for something a little bit less aggressive, go to -20 dB. Okay, there now I can see some lower sideband content, but that's, I'm just really poking a big signal down the throat of the 7000 here. So, it's kind of expecting an awful lot. But if I drop it way back there, I can still see a little tiny bit of stuff on the lower sideband there. Walking it there, even with when I have 30 dB of attenuation set. If I go to -20 dB on the receiver of the 7000, then that shows up more. But I'd have to actually put my cursor there to see what the peak is. Okay, that's showing 87 dB, and then the distortion is down here at a -126. Well, that's quite a bit there, yeah, from 80-some to -126. So the sideband distortion or the cleanness is really very, very, very good. Actually, better than I had thought. So, and I have my compression is actually it's on, but it's only set for 2. So yeah, rather interesting though. Yeah, it's a great thing. So thanks very much for this experiment. WB6JFH. So this is K0JTA. Go ahead there, David. Over.
K0JTA, WB6JFH. Very good, Mike. One of the reasons that I went this route was SDRs is so I could do experiments and help people out with adjustments, things like that. So I wanted to, I've got the tools now to do that. For like the FD900, I wouldn't be able to give you any kind of information about what the sideband looks like and things like that. So, and that doesn't even have double sideband truck carriers, so I couldn't make those measurements either. So anyway, glad I could help. I'm glad the recording came through fine. We keep forgetting about that, so with people that are asking about signal reports, I can always play it back to them like you do. And so I got to keep that in my mind that I can do that so people can hear what their signals sound like and stuff. So, sometimes you just, remember you get so full with stuff like, I feel like someone's probably falling out my ears. Stuff like that. So anyway, so glad I could help. And did you have any labels on the 7000?
What was the last question? What do I have on the 7000? Over.
Are you thinking about still trying to sell it, or are you thinking about keeping it? Go ahead.
Oh, I don't know. I think for the present time, really, I don't need the money and this kind of stuff, so I just go ahead and keep it. It is fun, and like you said, it's really a great tool. I've one of the things that really caught my eye when I first got into this stuff here is the ability to record and play back over the air. And yeah, it's a nice thing because people very often will say, well, you know, how does this sound? Well, here, listen for yourself. And I play back the recording, and I always get a very positive response on that. And then from that, we can go on to possibly modifying their settings, maybe like turn their compression down and things like that. And of course, then by going a little bit further, then we can look at the what do you call it? Can't think of the term here. They really, you know, have them go to some type of method where they could go to my streaming of the video. That then they can, with that, then they can see their transmitted signal and see if there's any splatter and things like that. So, yeah, it's a great tool. And that's the one thing I don't like about the ICOM and the rest of the radios here. You can record and you can play back audio, but the thing is the recordings go to a recording bin of recordings, but then to play them back, you have to take that SD card out, put it into a computer, and move it from the recording bin to the transmitting bin. You can record stuff to play back to, let's say if you're calling CQ, you know, long-winded CQ, you could record that kind of stuff too, but I mean, you can't directly make a recording and play them back. Now, years back when I got my first 7300, I did put together a little device, and actually I was hoping to generate something I could easily duplicate and sell it and things like that. But I just never got to that. Just once again, just way too many shiny things here. But I did get the thing going. It worked out really well. And I just had back then I had the TS590, so it was just a simple matter of putting this cable in and the little box. Then when you go to play it back, it would just hit the playback and play button. It would route the audio into the accessory jack of either the ICOM 7300 or the Kenwood TS590, and it would key the radio and play back the audio and things like that. It was really quite, it worked smoothly. This is basically what I'm trying to say. So I do have a market and I do have the possibility, but I just never got to it. Now, there's another program that somebody, maybe you had also told me, I think it's called Audacity, which may do the same thing. I really don't know. Maybe you know. WB6JFH, K0JTA, over.
K0JTA is the group. Well, no group anyway. WB6JFH. Okay, Mike, yeah. Sounds like an interesting project and stuff like that. So, looks like it's getting top of the hour. I'm hearing the other group starting underneath you. They're starting to get things up and running. So, you know, maybe we can talk about this more next weekend and stuff like that. And I'll look at service packs. I'll go ahead and put something out for the user group about head frame and things like that to see if there's some words of wisdom there, and we'll go from there. So anyway, I think we'll say 73, so the other group can have the frequency and try and have a good week, and hope you had a good Thanksgiving, and we'll catch up with you next week. K0JTA, WB6JFH, clearing your finals.
Okay, real good. Let me just a real quick check here. Was there somebody else who was trying to break in? Here is K0JTA standing by, over. Yep, not hearing anything, so, okay, real good. And, you know, just kind of scrolling around here, looking at different things on the computer here, too. So, yeah, go ahead and quit all that kind of stuff. Let's see, yeah, really nothing else to offer here, but, yeah, I do appreciate you very much, your, you know, critique and your guiding me through and playing back and this kind of stuff, so it really does reinforce it. Otherwise, yeah, you get kind of an idea, but it's not as good, that's for darn sure. So, yep, real good all the way around. Let's see, so I guess really nothing else I can say. Oh yeah, I was just thinking about that Audacity. Do you recognize that Audacity program, David, over?
Which program? Go ahead.
I think it was called Audacity, over.
No, never used it. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I think I'd heard about that, and somebody had suggested it as a possibility. The point being is that one can hook that up to a computer then and record and play back audio. Of course, in a case like that, it would take a computer to be able to do this, which would not be much of a hardship in a way, but you do have to have the computer there. So at that point, I'm back to where the Apache Labs and SDR, N and 7000 DLE is. So there's really not much advantage there. And of course, the N, of course, does a stellar job in comparison to what Audacity might do in kind of a left-handed version of a right-handed program. So yeah, anyway, so it's just something to consider there to think about. All right, real good. Apparently you don't have any interest in going to the visible thing. Is that correct? Over.
Still waiting to see what Rod's going to do, if we can make that work. If that doesn't work, then yes, I'll go to the visible stuff.
Okay, but the thing is with the visible, ignoring all the ham radio stuff, the thing is, it's an awful cheap method to get something that you would then have a hotspot that wouldn't work, because I'm running my whole house on it. Of course, I picked that phone up and put it in my pocket. Well, I got a cell phone, I got a web browser, it's a smartphone. Of course, you can bring your own phone, or you can buy a new one. My wife bought herself the new Apple 11 Plus whoop-de-doo model 14 or whatever. She got the latest and greatest new Apple 11 Plus or whatever it's called, and so she has it on visible. So, you know, it's a very, very, very inexpensive method of getting it. The bonus would be that with the visible you can tether, and there's no limit on the tethering data. Before she had tethering available, it was through Verizon, but it was still limited to 3 gigabytes per month. And if you go over that, you had to buy more, but it was a lot more expensive. Of course, your Verizon phone bill was a lot more than our present $30. But now, if you would join, everybody would drop down to $25. There's K0JTA, over.
Okay, Mike, tell me. It's still an option, still on the table. And like it does, I'm just waiting to see if Rod can provide anything for me. If not, then I will go to Rod. So it's almost noon, so we'll catch up to you next week and maybe talk a little bit more about that too. K0JTA, WB6JF873s, and have a good afternoon, Mike. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think you're still focused on using the visible system as your internet service. Just ignore that. Just take the fact that you do have a cell phone, you're paying more money for that cell phone than you would pay with the visible system. So what's the good part about that? Not much. Okay, the good part, if you would switch over, you would save money, number one. Number two, you would have that hotspot and the internet available at no extra cost. So, you know, to me it's a no-brainer, but, you know, it's your decision. I don't understand why you're resisting and not considering. And, of course, it's a no-contract thing, so if you want to jump in, you don't like it, you can jump back out, but that would be really surprising. 7-3 then, K0JTA.